Irma, Florence, Maria, Sandy, Harvey, Michael, Katrina. These are some of the names of major hurricanes that have hit and devastated communities in the United States. They have caused billions of dollars in damage and cost many their homes and even lives. The effects of natural disasters are immense and even go much further than destroying homes.
So we learned that Katrina was coming obviously a few days before the storm, and on the Saturday before the hurricane hit, which was the next day, Sunday, we evacuated from our home in New Orleans, and we went to our parents' house and our in-laws' house in Lafayette, Louisiana, planning to stay for 3 or 4 days. And we ended up staying there for between 4 months when I returned to New Orleans, and about a year later when my wife and kids returned. So the storm, as you know, caused flooding in New Orleans, and it flooded our home. We had about 8 feet of water in our home, and we didn't return to that home until about a month later. And when we returned, we found that it was pretty much a total loss, so that we had to then decide what we were going to do, whether we were going to return to New Orleans to live, and if we were, whether we were going to rebuild there or buy a home and live elsewhere. As it turns out, we returned to New Orleans. We did not return to the property, and we were fortunate enough to find a new home where we are right now.
So we owned a house in an area that was very badly flooded. We left the day before the hurricane hit in our car. We had 2 young children at the time. They were 2 and 4 at the time. Pretty much anything we cared about was in the car. We left. We were the closest place we could go was in Arkansas that we could get a hotel, so we stayed there for a few days. After that, it took us a few days to reconnect with my in-laws who are from Louisiana. And once we reconnected with them, we met them in Mississippi, I think. Spent there a few days with them, and then realized that it was not going to get better anytime soon. So we ended up going to Canada, where I'm from, where we had long-term lodging available with my parents, and we stayed there until January.
The environment is going through some major changes that have begun to alter the way people live and think. However, the risks that these global changes pose often remain unseen by an individual until they are personally wounded. Farmers, native populations in Alaska and Louisiana, coastal communities, and islanders are already experiencing these changes that come with a few degrees of temperature increase. Citizens throughout the United States are already being affected by drought, intense storms, sea level rise, flooding, erosion, and saltwater intrusion. Increasing temperatures provide the ideal conditions for more intense hurricanes, as they gain their energy from warm tropical waters. Warm air has a greater capacity to hold moisture, which increases rainfall and flooding. Storms are predicted to be 15% wetter with every 3.6 degrees Fahrenheit increase in temperature, and they may last longer as the atmospheric currents that move them along appear to be weakening. Though the category of hurricane refers to the sustained wind speeds of the storm, the real dangers lay in the storm surge, heavy rains, and flooding that accompany these catastrophic events. Further, as sea levels rise, coastal communities will be more at risk to destructive and fatal storm surges, which account for about half of these fatalities associated with hurricanes. Most of our systems and infrastructure are not built for the extremes that these new storms frequently present.
We are always at risk, and every time a hurricane season starts, which is June, we just go and we watch the weather and prepare as needed for any kind of storms. But sometimes I think, maybe we should leave now before another big one hits. But yes, we're at risk. And the way climate change is occurring, risk probably is going up.
Yeah, I would say that we are at risk from, another major event like Katrina. But a concern is just your normal kind of everyday or weekly rain showers, which seem to cause street flooding more frequently than they had in the past. And so it seems like we're getting about the same amount of rain, but it comes down heavier over shorter periods of time. And, over the last 2 summers, there's been some pretty significant street flooding in New Orleans that was not associated with any tropical storm or hurricane. So, we're at risk from major events, but I think also just the general pattern of weather is different, and that, combined with the general decay of infrastructure, puts New Orleans at risk, as it probably does in many coastal communities.
I think what is often forgotten is that this was mostly a man-made disaster, is that the levees should not have broken, is that it was a very strong hurricane, it was a very powerful hurricane, but much of the devastation was caused by negligence, by the fact that the levees broke. And I think that's an important message to remember.
Many homes are damaged or destroyed by hurricanes, and the economic costs are astronomical. Most vulnerable communities tend to be low income or elderly, and they can be exposed to contaminated floodwaters, which can be attributed to adjacent polluting industries. Further, challenges regarding evacuation and rehabilitation often emerge due to lack of funds, mobility, and education.
Now we begin Operation Salvage. I think it's going to be a pretty short operation. So here we go. Remarkably, the one piece of furniture that's left standing is the china cabinet. So maybe there is a little bit of good luck in life, huh? Care for a glass?
I think the table floated and came down. And there's our kitchen. And the refrigerator's on the floor, open.
I don't think we're going to keep the eggs. Cheers. Look at that. It still tells the right time. That is pretty amazing.
There's our beautiful bookcase, just laying there. And the piano's in the middle of the room. It used to be over there. And you can see muck just everywhere. The piano bench right here. But the piano's there, and the entertainment center's flat on its back. You can see those books just standing there with the shelf gone. They've expanded so much. There's another one on this side that's doing the same thing. Just there. Yeah, so.
Well, everyone's story is different. That's what I've come to find out. And everyone has different influences on their story, how they've been able to cope, rebound. I guess our story is one that, we value things, but when something breaks now, it's like, well, we have so much in our life, and I guess that's anyone's lesson, is to value your life and know what is important, because things change.
Yeah, so I think if there's something to learn from, our story, it is that climate change is real. People need to know that. And it's going to influence your life one way or another. It might not be a hurricane. It might not be warm temperatures. It just might be an increased frequency of, a storm or some other event. And we can prepare for those, major events by, again, having kind of documents and everything in order. But I think more to the point is that, as my wife said, value what you have and those people that are around you now, so that if you lose material possessions, you'll have those other parts of your life that you can fall back on, and family and friends are really critical to getting through any event like that.
Though the number of storms are not projected to increase, it is shown that they will gain strength and become more destructive. The link between the actions of humans and the increased amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is clear. The economic cost associated with these storms is horrific and will only increase as more and more people become affected. The cost of human life is too great for us to continue on this unsustainable path.
It just changes your whole life, especially if you have children. It really disrupts everybody. So it disrupts your family life, your work life, because I had to find a new employment. Same thing for my wife, she had to find a new job. So it's just extremely disruptive.
The long-term effects of these events may differ between communities and individuals. The loss of property, possessions, and loved ones can be devastating and cause great stress and trauma, even for those who are able to evacuate and can afford to rebuild or return. Those affected by events like Katrina face the challenge of wondering if it will happen again. But it can also build strength and resilience, which is what we need in a society that will be able to withstand the change to come.
I think resilience is just a feature of New Orleans in general. This isn't the first time that we've had a major weather event, and I think the 300 years of New Orleans history is one that's been characterized by resilience. So whether that is due to this most recent event or some other climatic or social change, New Orleans has shown an incredible amount of resilience, and there's been a really, I think, a rejuvenation of New Orleans with the influx of young professionals to the city that are attracted by the culture of New Orleans, despite some of the risks that are associated with climate change and living here in general. Everybody should reflect on what's important to them and make sure that if there's an event like this, that those things are protected. And that might be an item or a person or a memory. And that's what you should make sure you save in an event that is this devastating.
Applying the costs now to halt our dependence on coal, oil, and gas will help save us money in the future that would be applied to damages and recovery. Solar and wind energy will help to greatly reduce the amount of carbon dioxide that we are currently releasing into the atmosphere. Finding ways to do our part are crucial at the crossroads between adaptation and stagnation. Support companies that invest in climate action. Lobby leaders and politicians to take more green action on environmental policies. And make change within your own life to reduce your carbon footprint. Become buoyant.